It is utterly irresponsible, indefensible, and probably illegal. And if indeed you go down that route, then you will have utter anarchy.
This is heaven. This is hell. This is living. This is tale to tell. This is drive wheel. This is cog. This is master. This is snarling dog. This is hammer. This is spanner. This is no sir. This is table manners. This is history. This is how it's been. This is over and over and over and over again.
We're here to protect this area from 6-lane highway coming right into the centre of Oxford. 6 lanes will stop. They're removing this building, this beautiful building which is original, the last remaining Victorian prefabricated ironwork building in existence. So we're here to defend it. And I'm seeing a large amount of people here. They're all locked on, all trained, all prepared. It's going to be an interesting day.
Transmit live to the internet from inside the Shell building. People all over the world can access it. Instead of relying on the traditional media to put across our message, we can create our own agenda, put up exactly the information we want to put up, and bypass all those traditional barriers to getting the real message across rather than just the spin the media want to put on, and hopefully draw attention to the situation in Nigeria.
And we decided to take another trip. So the sisters' kids. Only meet once every 10 years.
Yes. I mean, it's a very rare occurrence, really, to get all of the Anglican bishops together in one place and yell at them. I mean, it doesn't happen every day.
And how often would you see so many frocks on the South Bank?
irrationality and the insanity of this nation. Yes, indeed. So I'm offended by these people who have clothes on. Arrest them! Arrest these clothes, ugly monsters! He's going red now, competing with the insanity themselves.
Raged across every television screen in Europe. While people were being raped and butchered, our politicians did nothing. We were supposed to sit back, watch the slaughter, and believe there was nothing we could do. Some of us decided to take action.
During the 1984-85 miners' strike, it was normal for miners to give up a day's pay throughout the Eastern Bloc and in the Soviet Union. And we know that the miners in Bosnia had given up a day's pay each month of the strike. Quite naturally, that kind of solidarity is, we have to repay it.
Achieved our first piece of paperwork. This will be one of many, so this feels like a great achievement. We're now going on to the customs plate.
Make sure there's no police anywhere else.
I'm looking.
Half of Kosovo is in fire right now, I mean, and we are waiting for that fire to come down to Pristina. I mean, we live in a very big fear.
No aid had reached Mitrovica for several months, as it was practically under siege. But in spite of being held up at several checkpoints, we finally made it into the town.
Words fail me. There we go. Did you ever think you'd get here? The last checkpoint was easily the worst, yes.
We want to make things happen, and you realise it's not just enough to, like, perhaps some charities go along and they're just giving aid to the mess that's already happened and trying to make things better for disasters. We want to be activists in the way that we stop things and prevent things happening in the first place.
Every time you go shopping, you're a guinea pig in someone else's experiment. Without our consent, genetically engineered food is being tested on us all.
Can you tell me which of these products, if any of them, contain genetically modified soya? Because I'm not keen from a health point of view of eating genetically modified soya. We've only had these products out for about a year or so. No one really knows how safe they are.
Global corporations like Monsanto have turned the fields of Britain into a testing ground. Genetic pollution from their crops will change our world forever.
We're outside a company who are manufacturing half-truths and lies to try and fool the British public about genetically modified food.
Why are they nude?
Why are they nude? Because more people look.
I think we need to look at the history of Monsanto to see what they have to contribute. They were the big producers of DDT in the United States, which turned out to be a mistake. Producers of Agent Orange, the defoliant used in Vietnam, which the Vietnamese people are still paying a price for in births of deformed babies and so on. Producers of BST additive in milk in America, which has caused so much controversy. And now they're producing a soybean, which they tell us is safe. And looking at their record, I'm not convinced.
Faced with the immediate threat of genetic pollution, people across the country have taken things into their own hands. So far, we've decontaminated over 30 sites out of 200.
I'm doing this because this is a research plot for genetically modified oilseed rape, planted here under contract from Monsanto. Seeing as the government don't see fit to stop this due to financial and political pressures, it's up to us to take a stand. Take a stand. Take a stand.
About 50 of us arrived here at 5 o'clock this morning, and we've arrived on the site. It had sugar beet on, I believe. The sugar beet is no longer here. That had been genetically engineered to be resistant to the herbicide. And we've taken over the site, and we're going to try and create something better on it.
There we go.
The web of life is being redesigned for corporate greed, and a movement of ordinary people is growing to stop it. You don't have to be an expert to know that genetic engineering is wrong, or to do something about it. What's important is that you act.
No more than 100 for each of us. We're then going to be putting them in these plastic bags and taking them to the Environment Agency and reporting them as a biohazard and asking them to dispose of them safely. He's just here now. I might explain to them to hear them.
Basically, I'm asking you on behalf of the to assist with doing them off, rather than intensive Did you do it again?
What we want them to understand is that whether they come with us or not, there will be direct action against those crops if they're planted, because the rest of us aren't prepared to see our gene pool getting polluted forever.
Here's a little story that happened to me as I was cycling to a friend's house at 2:45. Well, I was minding my own business, I really have to say, when a car turned left and cut me off, blew my front wheel away. So I said, leave your car at home, mate, leave your car at home, please just leave your car at home, friend. Leave your car at home. Hop on the bus or get on your bike. Go for a stroll or even a hike. Leave your car at home, mate. Just leave your car at home. Tito was a nightjar who lived in a tree, and he built his wife and kids a home in Newbury. Till one day it was decided that the town needs a new road, and as Tito's tree was in the way, his home would have to go. So he said, leave your car at home, mate, leave your car at home, please just leave your car at home, friend, leave your car at home. Help save the birds, the snails and the toads, don't cut those trees, we don't want more roads. Leave your car at home, mate, just leave your car at home. I was just a wee lass, I turned 3 that day, and all I asked for my birthday was somewhere I could play. Well, I didn't have a garden 'cause I lived in a flat, and I couldn't play outside in the street, too many cars for that. Unless you leave your car at home, mate, leave your car at home, please just leave your car at home, friend, leave your car at home. Get off your butt and onto your feet, let children play, help reclaim the streets, and leave your car at home, mate, just leave your car at home. Well, for those who still won't listen and won't heed this song, just open up your eyes, how can you not see something's wrong? Well, our cities are polluted and our forests are cut down, and there's cyclists wearing gas masks, for God's sake, just look around. And leave your car at home, mate, leave your car at home, please just leave leave your car at home. Hop on the bus or get on your bike, go for a stroll or even a hike. Help save the birds, the snails and the toads. Don't cut those trees, we don't want more roads. Get off your butt and onto your feet. Let children play, help reclaim the streets. And leave your car at home, mate. Just leave your car at home, I said. Leave your car at home, mate. Just leave your car at home.
Can you tell me what happened, sir? It looks like somebody's thrown a custard pie in your face.
To put up with the noise of all the trains, because when we moved in we knew that there was a railway here. We're prepared to put up with the noise from the A34. Why should we accept this noise as well?
Everybody seems to think it's a small thing, but to people living here, it's our lives that's at stake here.
It's the look of the thing, it's possibly the dust, and it's right here in the heart of where we live.
The way that keeps bumping and bumping and bumping, so this is all the time. And I'm talking about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning I'm talking about.
I first got involved in this when I came back from holiday last summer, and there was a letter waiting from the council. So I didn't actually take it very seriously at the time. I thought, oh well, ballast is ballast, it's got to go somewhere. It was only when I had phone calls from people in the area and I started looking in more detail at it and realised the magnitude of the undertaking.
Nobody's going to deny that they need ballast to put under the rails, but they don't need either this system or this place. This is just a totally unsuitable place to put it. It's near houses, it's in the green belt, it's in a beautiful part of Oxford, and it's just, you know, they couldn't really think of a more unsuitable place to put it.
This is a very good demonstration of our problem here. This train has been on the site for about 2.5 hours. Most of the time idling with its engine throbbing, waiting to get onto the stockpiling line. It came in this state with these trucks already full and half full of ballast, and all that they've done is fill or just really put the top on those wagons over there. Probably took about 5-10 minutes of excavator noise. That'll be logged by Railtrack as 5 to 10 minutes of disturbance, but actually it's been 2.5 hours of deep engine throb within our houses.
And they haven't paused for a second for anybody. They haven't taken the slightest notice of the opinions of the city council, the county council, the parish councils, a good dozen amenity groups and hundreds of local people protesting endlessly. And they haven't taken any notice whatever. They've just gone straight on with it.
We took everything that they said is true, and they said they'd had other sites that they'd had no trouble with, but of course all the other sites were on industrial estates. This was the first one on a residential estate.
We thought, you know, the council will scotch this, and the local councillor said, oh, we're not having this, it's against the local structure plan, it's in the green belt, it's in the floodplain, no way will they be able to do it. But then they discovered that Railtrack had permitted development rights. These rights were inherited from the time when Railtrack wasn't Railtrack, when it was British Rail and controlled by the government. And it basically means that they're not subject to normal planning controls. So where anybody else has to go and ask for planning permission and fight their case, they don't have to do this.
It is one which potentially affects everyone, because wherever there is green belt railway land, potentially it could just be developed without any consultation process or without any permission being granted at all.
When my children asked me why they were allowed to do these things, I said, democracy will sort it out, because you can only do things if they are legal. And if they're not legal, they will be stopped. I am beginning to wonder how I would explain to them that Railtrack seem to have the right to do whatever they like to us.
People are seeing direct action as possibly the only way that they can make their point felt, or make their, their feelings known. Railtrack doesn't seem to be taking anything else in mind.
Everybody's so angry, this noise is happening all the time, nothing's moving anywhere. And so we decided we wanted to somehow translate that anger into something else. And so that's really why we started taking some direct action.
Can I ask you what your intentions are?
Well, our intention is to go onto the site to demonstrate the fact that we feel they are trespassing on our privacy and in our park, and basically say we want to go onto their site.
I hear you, and I hear what you're saying, okay, but I cannot let you do that. One, because I'll be allowing you then to commit a criminal offence, and two, if anything happened to any of you, it would be then on my conscience if you went through that and somebody got hurt. I can't let you do that. I'm sorry. I'm not taking sides.
No, I appreciate that.
That is the law of the land. I don't see anybody get hurt.
Yes. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. But I can't let you go on for the site.
We are going to go on. Yeah, we are going on.
Well, I can't let you. I'm sorry. I'd like you to stop here, please.
I think we are
please, please,
going to go on to the site.
Please, please don't do this, please.
We are going to go on. We don't want any violence.
Then I'll warn you, you need yourself to be arrested, then, okay?
I think we are going to go on the site. We're going to be very peaceful, and we're adults, and we'll be very, very careful.
Take it off.
Please come on, mate. Do as you're told, all right? What do you think was going on today? I haven't got an opinion. No opinion at all? No.
Nobody can get this noise stopped. The council has agreed that in fact it is a statutory nuisance, and if it was being made by any other organisation, they'd be able to stop it immediately. But because it's Railtrack, we can't. So we have to make our views known as best we can. And if that means trespassing and breaking the law a bit, well, so be it.
Stop the quarry! Stop the quarry! Railtrack out! Stop the quarry! Stop the quarry! Railtrack out! Stop the quarry!
They would have consultations with us, but we've not seen a single person since. They've not contacted us at all. So this is the last straw that we can do. So we'll have to keep doing this until we get some action.
You won't go without, will you? Even the leader of the city council went onto the site and trespassed onto the site in order to show his disapproval.
The City Council is totally opposed to this gravel dump by Railtrack. The law is such that they can ignore all the normal laws and regulations, and our Department of Health, Environmental Health, would have closed down this site a long time ago were it not for the special privileges that Railtrack has got. And this is the only protest that is open to me or to any of the other residents against this appalling dump in the middle of the green belt and right next to people's homes.
We've been on the receiving end of all this for so long. People just wanted to get up and do something and to trespass on their territory for a change, and everybody felt a lot better afterwards. And I felt more positive.
We don't want the quarry! We don't want the quarry!
But although it might seem from the outside to be a local issue, it is not. It's to do with these rather draconian permitted development rights, which can be used by companies like Railtrack, which incidentally are private companies, to override any local objections or any protests against nuisance, noise, or whatever.
This is a national issue, and anyone living anywhere within earshot of a railway should recognise that this could be you. It really could.
And it's not just Railtrack. I mean, all the privatised companies have this, and other people are suffering from it. So, I mean, we want to win our campaign, but we want to win the general battle as well.
An esteemed panel of judges awarded a number of organisations the Big Brother Award today. Winner of the first award for invasion of privacy was Newham Council for introducing its new closed-circuit television system. These cameras can recognise a face from its database. Here's our report from our reporter Richard.
Here we are in Newham in London, where we're about to go into the council offices to award them this. This is one of the 1998 Big Brother Awards, which we're about to give on grounds of invasion of privacy. You've actually been judged to have been worthy of this great award. The 1998 Big Brother Awards on the, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, you're a very rude man. I'm just giving over this. Do you know how much this costs?
Tell me outside.
I'm sorry.
Come on, tell me outside. Come on, you tell me outside.
Come on, outside. Would you like to accept this award? This is a beautiful mosaic on the floor. Wouldn't it look nice with one of these displayed somewhere around the building? I'm sure it could sit quite happily there on the table, or perhaps by the photocopier. That's quite rude. Just for the sake of the argument, let's put it on top. See how it looks. I'll stand aside. You don't want me obscuring the view. Facial recognition technology, CCTV cameras on your streets. Here you go. Thank you so much.
At the end of the 14th century, they believed the earth was flat. Now, they believe that ceaseless economic growth is the only way. A fanatical cult is spreading across the world. They are fixated by one goal: profit. They are obsessed by one truth: competition. They are addicted to one value: greed.
Globalization and the technology revolution are not policy choices. They are facts.
But there's just one big problem. The resistance movement is growing. They are battling for diversity, equality, and freedom. And now, they're joining forces. June the 18th, a global day of action, protest, and carnival. You'll wish you were there.
It's coming. The most significant event in automotive history. It's coming. The end of the age of the omnibus. Here at the G8 Summit, are the world's biggest problems really on the agenda? Pollution, overconsumption, toxic waste,
29-year-old unidentified man went berserk last night.
Where did she get her view of the world?
Shotgun. 14 people are dead, including 3
Who will be her role models? What values will she have? Whose child is she? Yours or the network's? Take back your children. Turn off the TV.
Another Big Brother award has been awarded to the Department of Trade and Industry. They are pushing for legislation to force internet servers to hand over their customers' email passwords to the government. We go live now to the DTI.
Here we are outside the offices of the DTI in London, who are about to become the next proud recipients, we hope, of the next 1998 Big Brother Award for their role in, it's kind of complicated, they're in the pocket of the National Security Agency of the US, who want to make it impossible for people to send encrypted, coded messages across computer networks without handing over their password first to the government. So we're about to take issue with them for that. Here's the award in my hand, we're about to go in. Let's have a look and see how they respond. On live television, this is live chat as it happens. You're watching the 1998 Big Brother Awards. Here we have the Department of Trade and Industry. This man, I understand, is head of the building security. Would you please accept the Big Brother Award on behalf of the building? See, this base is actually made of marble.
Department of Trade and Industry, there are 3 males.
What about in the middle there? For people could come and see it, and because you can actually see it from different angles. That's a genuine Dr. Martin with bouncing soles, Dr. Martin boot. The 1998 Big Brother Award for your work on encryption and the pushing for the mandatory obligation to hand over encryption passwords to the government. If you'd like to accept the award on his...
I'm not prepared to accept it.
It takes so much effort to get a response from public servants. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You're making yourself look stupid. You don't know what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You've all been very understanding. Unfortunately, no success. They're handing over this particular Big Brother award. I don't know whose mantelpiece it will end up on, but it won't be any of theirs. That much we know.
trying to establish an eco-village, because people are saying no, 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 and a lot of no's, and we wanted to establish something or show the people the way of saying yes to no's.
I'm very glad today that Britain was representative at the Games. I'm very proud of my country, and I'd like to thank my mother and father and my school teacher at school for giving me such a good start in life, and yeah, I think it's beautiful.
Here is what's happened to the British countryside in a nutshell over the last 200 years. Enclosure first, and then the planning system have squeezed poor people and working people outside of the countryside. Some of us are trying to do something about this by moving back onto the land, creating livelihoods and creating homes, and trying to manage the land in a sustainable way.
We've been here for, I suppose, going on 5 years, or anyway owned it for about 5 years, and we had the intention of eventually applying for planning permission when we got to the end of our 3 house building projects. And then we got a letter saying that we'd been spotted by an aeroplane, and it turns out that the National Park send out these planes to check for illegal changes, mainly caravans. And it'd been flying over low, and the sun apparently got caught on one of our solar panels.
Well, I live at Tinker's Bubble, which has been going about 5 years, but we got discovered more or less immediately, and we've had a long, I wouldn't call it a planning battle. We've had negotiations over the last 5 years with the council and with the Secretary of State, and they've finally given us planning permission for 5 years.
We felt that part of the demonstration of sustainable land use included structures, very low impact structures that people could live in, and we ran bang against the standard planning legislation, which is basically that you can build structures around your house with planning permission, but as soon as anybody lives in them, you've crossed an enormous divide.
Basically, this doesn't conform to any of the planners' rules. I mean, not in some parts of the country it does, that, like South Somerset, Gloucestershire, bits of Scotland have rules to say yes, sustainable living is important, and it's not only that, it's not only just words. We're going to actually support sustainable experiments in some way or other.
I think what's happened with Agenda 21 is that because the government committed the councils to enshrining that in their policy, what actually it means now is that we have a lot of councils that are committed to something that they don't really know what it is.
We think that the planning legislation needs overhaul, and everybody thinks that. I mean, this is what's so ironic, is that the planning officer at the National Park says exactly the same. She says, well, here we are sitting here with planning guidelines. Everybody in central government is talking about sustainability, and not a single whistle has come down to the poorer people on the ground saying what they're supposed to do about it.
We're going to go to appeal now, since we haven't got planning permission, so we're going to go to appeal and then see what comes of that.
The problem is, I mean, we still aren't in the rules, even for an appeal person. They're going to look at what is the policy of the council. Could we make an exception in this case? Well, okay, we can argue for an exception. I would actually rather argue for a change in the rules to allow this to be okay. In other words, if you want to develop in the countryside anywhere, then develop sustainably, and let's have good constraints on it, let's have conditions on it. Let's say if you want to develop in open countryside, make sure that you don't have new roads to it, no new main services to it, no sewerages to it, which is what we've got. And in fact, Simon Fairley and the Land is Ours group have produced these 15 criteria that you could say to a council, if we have this in your local plan, these are the conditions for development in the countryside.
We came up with this document, which is called Defining Rural Sustainability, and then it's got a wonderful long 18th century subtitle which explains everything, which says 15 criteria for sustainable development in the countryside, together with 3 model policies for local plans. I mean, it's all spelled out for the planners. Take it back, reread government guidance, which says that sustainability should be the cornerstone of the government's rural planning policy, and then think about what sustainable development is.
There are 3.5 million regular cannabis users in the UK. Cannabis is a non-toxic, non-addictive plant, and no one's ever died from taking it. Campaigners have been calling for a change in the law since the 60s, but in recent years their arguments have found wide support from both inside and outside the establishment. In March this year, 20,000 people took to the streets of London to demand a change in the law.
For the possession of cannabis usually results in a caution, if you can get yourself arrested in the first place, that is.
So what I'm going to be doing once I've distributed out this last cake is actually going up to Maliban Police Station. I've told them I should be there for about 3 o'clock, explaining what I've done and basically offering myself for arrest. If you do take a big bit, just try and pass it around a bit because it's not going to last very long. Yeah. Side feeder, what I'm going to do is lob a bit over there. Over there.
That's it, it's all gone.
Hello, can you put me through to Maliban Police Station, please? It's to offer myself for arrest for the distribution of cannabis in Hyde Park. I was told to tell you how many people there. I reckon there's about 150. What people reckon? Yeah. The police have said they would prefer it if we didn't actually come up and offer ourselves for arrest because they can't deal with that number of people. Arrested for cannabis, well, if you really want to stop the system, is to refuse to cooperate with it. Don't accept a caution. They may take you to court. If you really want to fight, take it to Crown Court. And that's the whole thing about the Turn Yourself In Day, is breaking down that whole fear control thing, saying, I'm not a criminal, you're the criminal, if I'm committing a crime, arrest me.
The cultivation of cannabis is a criminal offence, but the possession, trade and sowing of the seeds is not.
It is not our intention to encourage the unregulated growing of cannabis in unusual and unexpected places. We certainly do not support any attempt to make cannabis growing so widespread that its prohibition becomes increasingly futile. And we do not find the idea of cannabis plants secretly growing in police stations and courthouse grounds hysterically funny. I'm going to leave it to Mother Nature to do the cultivating for us, and if the police want to interview her, well, that's they.
If you want to keep up to date with the latest campaign information, make sure you're connected.
Prohibition is all about secrecy and denial. It was about 2 years ago the net arrived, and suddenly we can find out information which, you know, I'd go along and I'd talk to the police and I'd say, what about this? Has this been done? And they'd say, no, you know, there's no information available about that. And then you can look on the net and there it is.
Details of the number of people arrested, medical benefits, contact lists, addresses of organisations in Britain and around the world. People who have access to internet have access to information, truth, which isn't printed by newspapers.
It's getting bigger all the time. There's more and more people getting on the internet. Dixons are giving away free discs. It doesn't even cost you that. Price of a phone call, you're on the net. You find out all the information for yourself. You don't have to believe what the government tells you. It ain't true.
Prohibition can't work if you're honest and you talk about things. And that's the biggest weapon against prohibition. Information.
The best known campaigner for legalisation is ex-cannabis smuggler Howard Marks.
There's a huge difference between legalisation and decriminalisation. With decriminalisation, consumption is effectively legalised, whereas the supply is still illegal. So you obviously have a crazy situation where the consuming of something is tolerated or condoned even, but the supply of it is cut off and sanctions against supply are imposed by the legal system. So logically it's great to make a logical choice when it has to choose legalization. You see, I don't know, I mean, I'm always tied between trying to do it politically, which didn't work when I tried to do it, didn't further things too much, and the kind of in-your-face attitude that you just whack it to it and keep whacking it and fuck them, basically. I mean, let's just get out there and smoke dope and fuck them.
But you suppose they're evil. I know some of these people, independent, free and peaceful. You ain't no Sarah, call you mister. You and the boys in blue, your bastards. Swing your sticks in harder and faster, while they dance like brothers and sisters. They want to educate their children, far from the violent, broken buildings, far from control of your computers. How your senseless greed and killing. Smell your stone. Understand why politics you want to spoil taxes fly like a valium for the workers' lands. Morally dumb but legalised.
Alcohol, tobacco kill thousands of people in this country and they're perfectly legal. So bloody hypocrisy is a stupid fucking law. The doctor said only one choice a day.
I don't understand why politics do want to spoil the party.
Everyone knows that it should be at least decriminalised, if not legalised. And there's so fucking many people smoking now, do you know what I mean? It's just a hell of a lot bigger than it used to be. You can't avoid that.
Well, my name's George Cervantes, or Jorge Cervantes. I'm an author, and I live in Amsterdam now. My job, I feel, is to get people to grow. And that's what I do, is I write grow books, and grow books work quite well. I've taught literally hundreds and thousands of people to grow marijuana. I smoke marijuana, and I smoke cannabis, and here I am, I'm normal.
We all know that cannabis will be legalised eventually, but we can't afford to wait for spineless politicians. Every day, people are being branded criminals and locked up for smoking a harmless plant.
It's a ridiculous, hypocritical law and it needs changing. So I'll see you at the next picnic.
Yeah.
I can't see the red light flashing.
Oh, well, so I haven't got it on then.
Why don't you say something rude and call it out?
Don't bother coming along now. Stay where you are. Oh, yeah, oh, you're not angry, are you, about it?
What?
You're not upset by it then, are you?
The whole issue, or what you do? Just making a horrible noise.
Oh, don't get upset about it then.
I'm not particularly upset, it's just rather annoying.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
You think you're going to stop them hearing that? Is that what the idea is?
Well, what do you think?
You take a little spell of me, Michael, really. You live in a country, or sort of spend a lot of time in the country, and you just don't begin to understand the country ways. Not begin
to someone who was born in the country, so
just don't begin. I know where he was born. I know what he did when he was young. He used to go ferreting.
I've never been ferreting in my life.
Oh, yes, you have.
No.
Right, doesn't it
Shooting.
to see the evil of your
See, one of the reasons you haven't got your hounds back for such a long time is because I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
You think it's drowning the noise?
Yeah, it is. You're drowning the noise, yeah.
Why do you think that's an advantage?
more of a man who...
Oh, because you're taking you a long time to get your hounds together and you're not hunting, are you?
It takes more of a man to accept what he's doing is wrong.
You see injustice all around, yet have not the courage or the will to fight or stand your ground. We see but are too scared. There are not enough of us prepared to put our lives at risk time and again. And then comes a drop of rain to the parched lips of a world that needs to feel hope again. We are dying as a people and a nation. A third of our people have been killed in 21 years of illegal occupation. 10 UN resolutions requesting Indonesia to withdraw. They chose to ignore. And a woman cries, if you are really human, you'll stop them sending these weapons to our shore. With my hammer I break the chain, I will not remain in silence. I will stand and I will defend my right to fight against violence. No prison can contain the freedom that we gain when we move through fear. Here. Laws of our civilized land are quite clear. Selling weapons to dictators who murder, starve, rape and torture is illegal. But there is timber, there is oil on Indonesian soil, and there's money to be made from the arms trade. Our boys need jobs, you shout it from the rooftops, but not one word of the lives lost or destroyed. I cannot believe you continue to deceive yourselves in this way. All the people that you pay to make the jet fighters. With my hammer I break the chain, I will not remain in silence. I will stand and I will defend my right to fight against violence. No prison can contain the freedom that we gain when we move through fear. Here. To think, to plan, they took a year to build trust, to work through fear. 3 a.m. on a cold January morning at BA Wharton, no one saw them, no one gave the warning. Hawkjet ZH955 came alive to the sound of singing hammers, the hanging of banners, the scattering of seeds and ashes on its wings, and the women waited to see what justice brings. For 2.4 million damage done, 13 million for a new one. We are not martyrs or heroines. We owe so much to our friends who held our courage in their hands. With my hammer I break the chain, I will not remain in silence. I will stand and I will defend my right to fight against violence. With my hammer I break the complain, I will not remain in silence. I will stand and I will defend my right to fight against violence.